Okay, and sorry, and he was one who started out when COVID started, putting in some rules that trying to keep us safe. And right now, our governor and our state legislature, which is Republican dominated, as you all probably know, has worked very hard to prevent our local officials from doing those things. And I asked Clay Jenkins, Steve Zadico, our treasurer, recommended that I invite him. And I asked Judge Jenkins to talk about how his job and the role of the county commissioners are affected by the rulings that have come down from the governor and the state legislature. And I know there's also some things coming out of the courts right now, but I would like him to talk about that because he's also up for re-election this year. And in the past, a couple of years ago, when Dennis Bonnen was still the Speaker of the House, I mean, he particularly was taking aim at the counties that were primarily urban counties, which are Democratic dominated. And they were out to limit them as much as they could. And I think a lot of the voting restrictions that have been recently passed by the state legislature have had that effect. That's been part of the goal, is to limit the turnout of voting in these high Democratic counties. So I'm going to turn it over to Judge Jenkins, and you're okay, Judge Jenkins, if we have a little bit of questioning afterwards?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So I'll let you just go with what you want to do. And thank you all for coming. And we'll get back in person as soon as we can, but for now we're trying to be safe. So thank you very much, Judge Jenkins.
Thank you. Thanks
Welcome.
for having me. So why don't we start with COVID? That seems to be what people are most interested in most of the time. This is obviously not the first one of these emergency situations that I've had to handle. So in large urban counties like ours, the county judge is by statute from the legislature, the director of emergency response. And so just as I had before, this public health emergency fell in my lap as something we had to do. And I'm a lawyer by training, and I'm not a lawyer who stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So I don't think that I know more than doctors about public health. And so I made my peace early on in this pandemic, just as I did in the Ebola outbreak, West Nile virus, and other public health emergencies, that I need to listen to the people who've trained their entire adult lives to advise in this moment. And that's going to be the CDC, but also our local doctors like Dr. Wong, who's our public health director, like the heads of infectious disease at UT Southwestern and Baylor and other systems, CEOs of hospitals, presidents of the medical society and their top experts in the field. And so that's who I've listened to. And each thing that I've done has been something that team that we put together that we call the Public Health Committee has pretty much unanimously asked me to do. When there is a schism in the team on what we should do, I ask them to go back into the room and work it out. I don't attend those meetings. There's no politicians or elected officials in those meetings. Those are scientific meetings. I'm not there to try to get them to do something. I'm trying to just get honest advice from them. And so we did that early on. And early on, we were the first county in the South, not just in Texas, but in the South, first county that wasn't San Francisco or New York to do a shelter in place order. We did that. I had been an advisor to Andrew Cuomo when they had Ebola right after us. So his people and he, advised me on what they were seeing. I didn't want us to be another New York with the number of people they had with COVID. And so we acted quickly. Then a day of me acting, some other counties began to act like Harris County. Within a week, the surrounding Metroplex, Denton and Tarrant and the littler counties, all except for Collin, had also acted. And then the governor, about 10 days after I acted, went in and acted. Somewhere along the way, the governor lost his nerve. I think it was when the hairdresser backed him down on closing salons, and Trump didn't like some of the things that he was done. So He's proved to be, honestly, just an extraordinarily weak and ineffective leader. And we've been able to coexist and, work around him. He's really been a hard to work with. Unlike Rick Perry and Ebola, where we would talk usually twice a day. I hadn't talked to Governor Abbott in probably over a year, and neither is any other large urban county judge who are mostly Democrats, but also Glenn Whitley, who's a Republican next door. He just doesn't talk to the people who are doing the work. I don't know what he does, but he stays at his house and does something other than COVID. Lately, though, he because of polls in the Republican primary, he decided to pass edicts saying that schools couldn't put masks on kids, that there couldn't be local mask orders, that employers couldn't require that their employees be vaccinated. And at some point during Delta, and it's months ago now, one of my lawyers, Andy Summerman, I saw was on the call. He may remember, but whenever it was, the Public Health Committee asked me simply, this is how this whole lawsuit started, simply to make sure that people wore masks when they go to the grocery store or go into a public building. And they explained to me up until about 11:35 the night before we had a commissioner's court meeting, the importance of this, the models they were seeing, how bad Delta was going to be. And, those UT Southwestern medical models that I'll talk about one in a minute that came out today, they have shown themselves to be remarkably correct. And unfortunately, because a lot of times they're not good news, like the one we got today. And so the next day when I went to court, I asked all the commissioners, please wear a mask. One of the commissioners didn't want to wear a mask, but wanted to stay in the courtroom. And as the county judge, I can control decorum in the courtroom. Just like if anybody's ever had an experience where they've been in before a judge, the judge can ask you to do things like stand up or sit down. So we had Commissioner Koch appear in the court proceedings from his office via Zoom, and then he sued me, and then the AG said, and to remove me from office for violating his civil rights to not wear a mask. And then the AG intervened in the lawsuit and said they were going to sue me. And then my lawyer said the only way to protect people, that work in grocery stores and schools and whatnot and get them to wear a mask is for you to bring in Governor Abbott. And so we did. And that's how Jenkins versus Abbott started, which is now spawned into everybody, school districts, business, a ton of people versus Abbott, and all kinds of different lawsuits. And, we're rocking along with that. The lawyers, the county attorney that so we don't have a county attorney here in Dallas County. We have one that's appointed by John Creuzot. That person is a Republican, Russ Roden. I like Russ, he's a nice fellow, but it was his opinion that the county couldn't pay any legal fees for fighting Greg Abbott. And so my lawyers have been working without pay to protect your right to not get sick when you go to the grocery store or go to work or your kids go to school. And one of them's here, Andy Summerman, I saw was on the phone. Andy, thanks for your great work on that. And so, that's why I sued. In a nutshell, you can thank JJ Koch for me suing Abbott, because the Public Health Committee didn't ask me to sue Abbott. They just asked me to make sure people wore a mask at the grocery store, that schools knew the risk, and that we wore those in the courthouse. And JJ Koch's lawsuit spun into me suing Abbott. And then when I did, everybody else in the state kind of said, we've had enough of this too. I think we'll sue him. So now we're, in the Supreme Court trying to figure out, what's going on, what the Supreme Court's going to say. It's a Republican Supreme Court. It's 9 members that are elected Republicans, but it's kind of interesting politics because Abbott is concerned only by poll-driven stuff. No question that he's not even considering public health. Everybody knows that. It's not even editorial. It's just fact that he's looking at the polls of what Republicans want in the primary, which is the basic numbers are most Republicans are vaccinated. About half, little over half are vaccinated. The half that aren't vaccinated obviously don't want to be told to wear a mask or get vaccinated. Of the little over a half that are vaccinated, about a third of those don't care to tell anybody else what to do. So the numbers are good for him to be anti-mask mandate, anti-vaccine mandate. But the reason the courts are kind of punting around with this from a political standpoint is an opinion that employers cannot require vaccines, or that that school districts cannot ask people in high spread times to wear masks in school won't age well in this pandemic. The Republican primary voters that Governor Abbott is dealing with in March won't be of the same mindset when some Supreme Court judge is running 2 or 4 years from now. And so a lot of politics, potentially at play there. We hope that the court will, rule on the merits. And I think when they do, if they'll do that and they look at it, what they'll see is the legislature clearly laid out a scheme for this. They allow the governor to respond to an emergency, but they want most emergencies, because when they laid it out, they were thinking about tornadoes and, fires to be handled at the local level. And they did not give the governor the authority to stop the response to an emergency. And so that's essentially what the governor's doing. He's not saying we should respond to the emergency in a certain way. He's saying we should not respond at all to the emergency, that people should just use personal responsibility and figure it out on their own. So that's where we are. Our Omicron variant, and I'm going to get to some of these questions over here too. Our Omicron variant got updated today. Last week, the doctors thought we would probably end up with over 1,000 people in the hospital by the end of the month. We're well beyond that today. Now they think in Dallas County, there'll be over 2,000 people in the hospital by the end of the month, and nearly 3,000 people in the hospital in Tarrant County. And that is an example, by the way, of why leadership matters. In Dallas County, we've had a consistent voice about the things you do to stay safe. In Tarrant County, they've had a consistent voice about personal responsibility and make your own decisions. There's 750,000 less people in Tarrant County than in Dallas County, but there's always 50% more cases in Tarrant County, after about 4 months into this, when people begin to lose their nerve. So, that's kind of what's going on. What you need to do to keep yourself safe right now is about 70%, a little over 70% of our people have been vaccinated, but only 15% of our people that are eligible have been boosted. So if you hadn't been boosted, please go to vaccines.org. You can find a vaccine near you and get your booster. If you hadn't been vaccinated for any reason, please get vaccinated. Hundreds of millions of people have been vaccinated. Whatever you've read on the internet that tells you to not get vaccinated, it's just not true. Find a doctor that you want to talk to and then get ask the doctor a question and get vaccinated. Wearing a mask indoors right now is extremely important. The Omicron variant is as contagious as any plague, any disease that we've seen. The Delta is as contagious as the chicken pox. The Omicron is much more contagious than that. So if you're in a room for any length of time with someone who has COVID, you're almost certainly going to get it if you're not wearing your mask. So please wear a mask. The best masks to wear are N95 or KN95 masks. If you wear a paper mask like this, if not, hopefully I'm on camera. If you wear a paper mask like this is better than a cloth mask, because a cloth mask has an insert for you to put a filter in. How many people are actually putting those filters in? And even if you did, that filter wouldn't perfectly fit over your face. So what we're asking people that don't have KN95s to do, I'll do it for you real fast. Put your surgical on, pinch here, pull down here, and then put your cloth over it. And this will hold the mask closer to your face. I know this is not so much a political speech as it is me trying to keep you safe, but I'm going to answer all your political questions. So this alone, if this is all you have in your car and you forgot and you're going into the 7-Eleven, it's better than nothing for sure. But what we're finding is Omicron doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to cloth mask. So I'd recommend doubling up on the mask or wearing a KN95. Let me get to some of your, and about elections, we did, I want to give kudos to Christy Noble and for that matter, whoever the Republican chair is, because we're going to have our first joint primary. And that's going to be helpful in staffing and redundancies and making sure that regardless of which party you're voting for, you have a smoother election. Let me see if I can look through the question. I'm going to try to answer some of y'all's. Let's see. Clay, the mandate's lack of regarding, oops, it moved on me. Let me go up to the top again. I'll just start at the top. Okay. Well, I'm trying. Mr. Jenkins, do you believe the land office decision to cut Harris County out of the initial round of federal funding after Hurricane Harvey was politically motivated? Could this, oops, maybe somebody want to read these to me because they keep jumping off my screen when I'm trying to.
Can you see them, Stephen, to read?
Yes, I can, if you'd like me to.
Sure.
Yeah, please do, Steve, because for some reason it's just not working.
Okay, let's go back to all my messages here. It's gonna take a second. Clay, could you tell me the last question you answered so I can make sure I'm on the right one here?
Well, the first one I see, one Renneria has the 100, and then right below it at 714 is one from Brian Dugan, but it just keeps jumping all over the screen when I try to move it. It's about
Okay, I've got that for you. Hang on one second. Brian Dugan asked, Mr. Jenkins, do you believe the land office decision to cut Harris County out of the initial round of federal funding after Hurricane Harvey was politically motivated? Could this also happen with a natural disaster in Dallas County?
You know, I talk to Lena pretty regularly. My counterpart in Harris County, she has not mentioned to me a concern on that. I defer to her and Rodney Ellis and Adrian Garcia on that. They're the three Democrats on the commissioner's court there. Could it happen in Dallas? It has happened. So as luck would have it, the President Obama's Ebola czar for Ebola was a guy named Ron Klain, who's now the chief of staff for President Biden. Ron and I are like friends that go to dinner when we're in towns, after Ebola. And I've still got, he's got the same cell phone, I've got it. So I called him shortly after the president took the oath and asked him if we could get back a mega vaccine site like California had here in Texas, here in Dallas, and one in Houston. We worked to get that, but the governor's office did not want us to have it. And they pushed about it, not having it. They said the only way they'd let it come into the state is if it was a smaller site, half as big as the one in Harris County. The Biden administration agreed. And then they began, which was fine because we just wanted the site because it's fair part. And then Abbott cut kept cutting the what am I trying to say? The vaccine supply to us, and cut the FEMA people and National Guard people that they had control over to us. So that was an example of cutting. Before that, early on in the pandemic, I would talk to, and this is before we even had our first case, I would talk to my friends at the CDC that I'd, friends with since West Nile virus and Ebola. And after a while, they said, we're not allowed to officially talk to anyone. Only the White House can talk to you about science surrounding this new COVID. So definitely politics can be at play. We've got to, watch against that. I think we're not seeing politics in play with Biden much. You are seeing, I think, for instance, the reason that we have gone from 10 days for waiting after you get sick to go back to work to 5 days, there is some policy in that. What will people? We're afraid that they won't stay out for 10 days, but maybe if we say 5, they'll do that. And then maybe they'll wear a mask for the next 5 days. So there is some politics in there, in the small p sense. When they told people if you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask, there was some politics in that. Some thinking, if we can show people that there's more freedom in getting vaccinated, we'll get more people vaccinated. That there's always small p politics involved, but when that politics is stopping back from getting vaccinated or leading to more people getting sick, that's a very bad thing. And we've only seen that in this pandemic from President Trump and, governors like DeSantis and Abbott.
Okay, ready for the next one?
Sure.
This is from Wanda Samarano. Clay, the mandates lack of regarding COVID from Abbott seem to be criminal. Can he be charged? Also, Tom Irvin is running against J.J. Koch. As you probably know, Koch has got to go. I hope I pronounced his name right. Appreciate all on your team do. Thank you, Wanda J. Samarano Irving.
Yeah. So on that, the challenge with charging Abbott with a crime is the person that would do it, I suppose, would be our AG, which is no stranger to being charged with a crime. So, I think we kind of have the fox guarding the hen house. It's our belief, it's my legal team's belief, and in looking at this, and it's a very good legal team, that Abbott was the authorities, his authority comes from statute. So over 100 years ago, the legislature started looking at this, and the last big recodification of emergency response was, I believe, in 1975. So this is old law. And what they said is we want disasters handled locally. And if the governor, the governor would normally, if there's a hurricane, the governor would help the county judges in the affected area get supplies, but the decision of whether to evacuate, when to come back in, and how to deploy those assets would be left to the local level. It makes sense if you think about it, because at the local level, that's who knows everybody. That's, the governor's coming in, he doesn't know the business community or the hospital CEOs, the county judge and the mayor know all those people. So when they wrote that law, they said if there's a dispute over evacuation or what have you between a mayor and a county judge, the county judge prevails. They never said in there what happens if there's a dispute between a governor and a mayor, or a governor and a county judge. And the reason for that, we believe, is because it was never contemplated that governors would come in and try to stop an emergency response, right? Of course, they didn't plan on the emergency lasting 2 years either. But, what the governor's doing now is he's trying to stop the emergency response, not give the schools parameters of how to best protect children, but just say, you can't mask the kids, you can't make the teachers get a vaccine, you can't do all these things, but not what you can do and not offering to help in any way. The lawyers believe, and I believe too, I'm a lawyer by training, that that's not in the statutory framework. The governor was not given the authority to overrule the people that were given the authority to make decisions, or to be a ruler during an emergency, and to rule that you couldn't respond. So we'll see what happens with that. But as far as our AG bringing charges against him, I'm not going to hold my breath with that.
Derek and Petra have a question to everyone, actually. What about the civil rights of people who want to limit their exposure to COVID and not get sick and die?
I agree with that. Um, I don't know when America became, or some people in America became so selfish. I cannot imagine how we could have won World War II if, when you look back in times of sacrifice in this country, if you weren't fighting in the war, you were working in a factory, buying war bonds, driving around on tread tires so that the Army and the Navy could have the rubber and the things that they need. Back then, women wore nylon hose. It's very unusual for a woman not to have some kind of hosiery on her legs, but that started in World War II when they needed the nylon for the military. Everybody sacrificed some. And now we cannot get 31% of the population to put a little piece of paper over their mouth when they go into the grocery store. Just keeping in mind that 85% of the protection from COVID from wearing masks is on the mouth of the asymptomatic person who has COVID. Maybe the person going to the grocery store feels like I'm young, I'm invincible, I don't need to wear a mask. I don't care if I get COVID. But those are the very people who are hanging out in bars, doing different stuff, most likely to maybe get an asymptomatic case. Maybe the person they're shopping next to in the grocery store is going home like me to take care of their 89-year-old mom. Or maybe they have an immunocompromised child or spouse that they're going home, or maybe they themselves are immunocompromised. So as a country, when did we get to the point where nearly a third of our people said, you know what, I don't care about my neighbor. It's all about me. It's just too much trouble to put this mask on when I go into the grocery store. Or I don't want to listen to what all the doctors tell me will save our community and our country. I want to look at what Fox News or the internet tells me about these vaccines and make my decision that way. And just imagine if this hadn't been politicized by Trump and Abbott, who would go in, God forbid this ever happens to any of us, but who would go in and get a cancer diagnosis and then say the oncologist, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm going to go look at the internet and see what hairdressers, I'm nothing against hairdressers, and I wouldn't let an oncologist cut my hair, but I'm going to go look to see what a hairdresser thinks I should do. I'm going to go look to see what a politician who doesn't have a medical license, or President Trump thinks I should do about this cancer in my body. I'm not at all interested in what you doctors say. Nobody would do that. No Republican, no Democrat, no independent would do that. But that's what's happening with nearly a third of the country now.
But to follow, Wanda also comments, if hospitals can turn away pregnant women, could they turn away infected COVID patients who haven't been vaccinated, not including medical reasons? We've got to protect our medical staff at some point. Thanks.
I'm so proud of our healthcare heroes. And the short answer, Wanda, is no, they can't. And it's because of a law that was passed. It was championed by the former CEO of Parkland Hospital years ago, and it's called EMTALA. And it stands for, let's see, emergency medical, I'm going to mess this up, but it's the right to care when you're in dire straits. In the old days, one emergency room might not take someone having a heart attack because of the color of their skin or because of their ability to pay. And they tell them, you go down the street to another emergency room or across town. Of course, time is of the essence when you're in dire straits like that. And so they made that illegal. So if a person comes in and they are in an unstable condition, we've got to take them. But our healthcare heroes at Parkland, especially, and at all of our hospitals, would never consider turning them away. As frustrating as it is, and as low as morale can sometimes, be, because we're dealing now with, a largely preventable illness for the people that are in the hospital. Those heroes just never tire. And I'm out there with them, feeding them about, every month or so. I'll go out and take a bunch of, hamburgers or salads or something and feed the COVID ward and do, videos to their kids about what a hero their dad or mom is, and just try to lift their spirits. And other people do that as well. But that, we can't do it under the law, and they wouldn't do it. Even if I could order them to do it, that would be the first time they didn't do what I asked them to do, because they want to help people. It's in their DNA as healthcare heroes.
Very good. Jeff Kruger, you mentioned that Governor Abbott has not talked or consulted directly with you regarding the COVID restrictions. Is this true for all counties, including those run by Republicans? How can we bridge that communication and collaboration gap? Yeah, the easy answer is to get Beto in as governor. What can you do now?
Well, it is true of large urban counties. So I can't speak to whether he's talked to the, county judge somewhere, but as far as the large urban counties, El Paso, Harris, Dallas, Tarrant, Travis, Bear, he hasn't talked to any of us. And I also know that over the last year, he hasn't talked to any of his original medical advisors. So let that sink in for a second, folks. He had 4 medical advisors. Now, I talked earlier about who my medical advisors are. None of them were chosen by me. They were chosen by their position. I did not know the head of infectious disease at Baylor or at UT Southwestern or the president of the Dallas County Medical Society. I did know the CEO of Parkland, since it's a county hospital, but most of these people I didn't know. Their hospitals had already elevated them to be the head of the department, and that's how they got on. He chose his medical advisors by former Republican appointee to the FDA by President Bush, former Republican House of Representatives member who was also an anesthesiologist, a pediatrician who was a Republican appointee that he can fire right now, and the head of the UT Austin infectious disease, who he can hire and fire right now. And even though he chose those folks, and only one of them, the head of infectious disease at UT, was actually qualified by his field to advise on this disease, he hadn't talked to any of those folks that he can hire and fire in the last year. And all of those original folks that he could not hire or fire have come out and said he's wrong on masks and he's wrong on vaccines, and we don't agree with what he's doing, and the science doesn't agree. The only people that haven't said that are the people that still work for Governor Abbott, but to their credit, they have not come out and said he's right. They've just been, conspicuously silent during these, last few crazy months.
Steven Zadico comments, what other challenges does Dallas County face in the upcoming year? What should our role be to help overcome them?
So the other big, challenge is really an opportunity. Because of the work of the Democrats in Washington, we have the ARPA funding, the American Rescue Plan, that was passed, by the way, without a single Republican vote. And that plan brings nearly $2 billion to various entities here in the Dallas County area. It brings funds to our schools, to our county, to our cities. And we need to spend those funds wisely. We need to find, working together with all of our cities, all of our counties, all of our nonprofits. We need to find ways that we don't just raise the expenditures on, say, mental health or broadband or education for 4 or 5 years until the money runs out. We need to build systems that bless generations. And so we're partnering with the city of Dallas, the private sector, and all of the housing voucher holders like the Dallas Housing Authority to spend $75 million on rapid rehousing for the homeless. We're going to do some things that I can't announce tonight because they're not done yet, that are other things with, homeless, helping with the homeless with some permanent housing and with some support there. We're going to do some things in affordable housing. We're going to spend over $100 million on increasing broadband, not just to some neighborhoods, but try to get it to every neighborhood. So every neighborhood in the city of Dallas to start with will have, wired high-speed broadband. We're going to spend over $110 million just at the county this year on mental health. And so we got to do that well. We got to do that in ways that really help people. We're spending on feeding people, on just a variety of programs with that ARPA money. Maybe we'll pass Build Back Better. If we do, we'll have to do the same thing with that. We've got infrastructure money coming in, and this is going to be an opportunity to, do all kinds of things, knit back together communities and really improve the walkability and, the commute times and the commute safety of people here in Dallas County. Those are big challenges and opportunities. I'd say on the challenge, a lot of that money is going to go towards our kids who miss school. Our kids are behind because of online learning being so, hard to do. So we've got to spend wisely, get tutors in there and get the kids back up to speed so that this generation won't be behind.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions. So very clear. I'll just mention to you that Judge Nancy Mulder has also joined the meeting, and I don't see any other questions that people have to ask at this point.
Okay. Well, let me close and let y'all get on to something else by just saying it really is an honor to represent you and to see the resilience of the people of North Texas, but particularly, Democratic groups. I got to tell you, there are times that my team is tired. There are times that I'm tired. But we will never give up trying to keep you safe. And the notes that you write us, the things that just, you say to me or some of my team when we're walking down the street really means a lot to us. And, please contact us when we don't live up to what we need to do. We're trying our best to get new testing facilities open. Every day we're opening Parkland tomorrow. We opened North Lake College and Thurgood Marshall and a couple of other ones today as well. I've lost, I can't remember what the other two were, but please do get tested. If you feel sick or if you have an exposure, get tested. We don't want you to go to work or go to school or be around your friends if you've had an exposure or you're feeling sick until you get tested. So we're going to try to make that testing, more available. It's a national problem right now with the testing shortage, but we're doing the best we can to get that. And if you get a chance, try to get you some of these tests when you see them at the grocery store. Those will work for you to know your status as well. So, and I'm sorry, normally this would be like fire and, brimstone, go get the Republicans. Right now, I'm just trying to keep everybody safe. Oh,
Clay, there was one more question. Someone wanted to know if you have a relationship with Beto.
I do. So Beto is a good friend of mine. And I am giving to his campaign. We worked, we had a thing, unity campaign between the two of us in 2018 when he was running for US Senate and I was running for re-election. And so we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to elect Court of Appeals judges and make sure that all of our state reps and newly elected Democrats stayed in office. And besides that, we're friends, outside of all that. So he'll make a great governor, and he'll be in Dallas tomorrow. I don't know exactly where he'll be and what he's doing. I'm going to see him for one of his stops, but yeah, he's I can personally vouch for him. He's great. By the way, I do have an opponent. So when you're voting, don't forget to go down and find my name and vote for me, please.
Thank you so much. And I don't know if you've seen all the thank yous that have been coming in.
No, because I cannot work this thing. I can't get mine to work.
Now you've been getting thank yous from a whole bunch of people who've been watching here, and a thank you from all of us.
Well, great. One thing that I didn't say, if anybody needs her, my good friend, another good friend of mine is Colin Allred, and he's been very gracious. The great Sarah McCarthy, who is his press secretary, has taken a leave of absence from Collins' office run my campaign through the primary. And I think she may not be there now, but she was on the Zoom earlier. I know it is very hard to get a hold of me now. It seems to like I wake up, fight COVID, go to bed, wake up, fight COVID. But if you're looking for anything you need from the campaign, please get a hold of Sarah, and she'll make sure to get my attention.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I also want to thank Steve Zadico, our treasurer, because it was his idea to invite you. And I said, who should we have in January? He says, Clay Jenkins. And I thought, well, yes. And you said yes so readily. So thank you so much for your kindness and speaking to us and your time.
It was an easy choice, Judge Jenkins.
Well, it was such an obvious choice. I should have thought of it myself, but I guess I didn't know that you would be so willing, except for the NCAA last night. But did your team win? Did the team you want to win?
So Jason Romaine, who's the person who goes out and opens up all these Walmart clinics. And if you've been to any of our clinics that are pop-ups, Jason does that. And he's the acting health and human services chief of staff this week because the chief is off this week. He went to Georgia, and when you're on this COVID team of about 21 people that are on our early morning call, we want what anybody on that call wants. And he wanted his team to win. So he had 21 other people that wanted his team to win. So we were all for him, but we weren't in the same room. We were, in separate avenues. So thank you, Steve. Thanks for thinking of me. Mary Claire, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for everything you do. All the candidates, thank you for running. And one last thing, on the politics of this, I know, I think for JJC, for the seat that's currently held by JJ Koch, at least two of the Democrats are on this call, and they're all great. Well, the two that are on the air, Tom, or maybe it's Tom, or it might be Terry that's on, and Andy, great. I don't know one of the candidates very well, but I'm friends with three of the others. They're fighting hard. Others are fighting hard. But at the end of this, just remember, we're all Democrats. We got to, whoever wins, if I lose to my opponent, I'm going to be supporting the Democratic ticket because I'm a Democrat. So let's get together after these primaries and make sure we win in the fall.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Judge Jenkins. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you stay safe yourself.
Thank you.
And have a good evening, okay? Thank you. I'm going to if there are candidates who are running for office who are here, and I know there are a number of them who would like to speak, I have to go back to you to see everybody. We have Nancy Mulder, who is a sitting judge, who is—
Hey, Mary Claire, how are you?
I'm fine, Nancy. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I just jumped right in. I hope that's okay.
Can you Stephen, will she show up? Do I have the wrong view here? I have the gallery view. Okay. Nancy is running, and I don't know if her opponent is here, but Nancy's been a judge for a number of years, and she's opposed by Allison Allen, or Allison Grinter Allen.
Yes, hello. Hi, everybody. Looking glamorous today.
Okay, that's okay. What we will do, because we have a number of John Eames is challenged by two opponents who sees he's a tax guy. He's a tax collector, basically. But the judges that are sitting judges, and there are a number of them that are being challenged, there is a Bar Association rating, and we will send out links to that and try to let you know of the ratings for judges, and then you can also assess them versus their opponents. I think it's harder you don't have assessments of opponents, but it can let you know what the sitting judges are doing and how they're respected by the attorneys that come before them in cases. And it talks about things like preparation and knowledge and how they manage their courts and so forth. So those are things that are important, I think, when you vote, because in the primaries, when there's so many judges, judicial positions up for contested elections in primaries, it's important to know who you're voting for, and it's hard to know. It takes a little bit of research. but we're going to try to make it easier for you because the primary starts in February. And normally we would endorse, and it's a little tricky this year because we didn't have this meeting in person, and we haven't had enough people coming to meetings to because I like you to be able to endorse when you've actually seen all the candidates, and we haven't been able to do that. So we're trying to figure out if that can be done, but we have spoken to some of the judges. We have seen some of the judges and judicial candidates, seen some of the candidates for county commissioner running as JJ Koch. So we will have a meeting in February. We'll have another chance to see some of these people just before the primary. But in the short term, we're going to try to let you know as much as we can about the sitting judges, and then you can see how you feel about their opponents, which is one way to do it. It's the only way we know how to right now. But anyway, thank you, Nancy, for being there, and for being at the meeting. I think it was a great meeting. And
Yes, it was.
and who else would like to speak? Because I want to let everybody who wants to speak take a minute or so here to talk. You want to say anything, Nancy, specifically? Because I spoke. I didn't mean to speak over you.
Oh, that's okay. Yes, I'll give you a rundown. I just saw my opponent hop on. Once again, my name is Nancy Mulder. I'm currently judging County Criminal Court number 4. I have practiced criminal law in Dallas County for 26 years. So I'm going to have to talk really fast. I was a prosecutor for 12, then practiced after my son was born, opened a private criminal practice doing defense for 8 years before taking the bench on this misdemeanor court. Now I have filed to run for one of our felony court benches. Like I said, I'm on a misdemeanor court bench. I filed to run for an open felony bench, criminal district court number 6. Now, I have prosecuted and defended personally in court, in trial, everything up and through capital murder cases. Now, some of the things I'm most proud of being on the bench is that in the first 5 years I've been a judge, I have reduced the pending caseload by 41%. I led the fight to end issuance of warrants when people couldn't pay their fine, simply couldn't pay their fines and court costs. I created the cite and release possession of marijuana program, which ended on-site arrest for people who were simply in possession of a usable quantity of marijuana. In addition, I helped create the mental health step-up program we have in the jail, where people are immediately identified when they are arrested, when they come to the jail. If they are mentally ill, we give them a PR bond if they're eligible. And then when they're released, we put them in a van and drive them over to Metrocrest for services. In addition, I partnered with Project Phoenix to provide probationers with free job training. I could go on, but I know I've taken up a lot of your time. So I am following in the footsteps of Tina Clinton and Judge Elizabeth Frizzell. Judge Tina Clinton, I call her Tina because she's a friend, in moving from a misdemeanor bench to a felony bench. It is simply because I feel the call to serve, and I want to take what I've learned on this bench and apply it to our most serious cases. So I hope you'll vote for me, Nancy Mulder, Criminal District Court number 6. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Who would like to speak next? Allison, do you want to speak?
Sure, thank you. I won't take too much time. I wanted to clarify something that I think Nancy really clarified really well, and that is that I am running. Nancy and I are running in the same race, but I'm not challenging an incumbent. We're both running for an open seat. Okay. My name is Allison Allen. I'm a board certified criminal specialist. I've practiced for 17 years in the Dallas County criminal courts, and I carry a pretty substantial civil rights caseload, including fighting for the rights of incarcerated people, for voting rights with Crystal Mason in Fort Worth, and Reality Winner for the rights of demonstrators and activists that have been politicized and charged with pretense charges. But for the most part, I have been practicing criminal law in the Dallas County Criminal Courts. I'm also a former public defender, and I was in charge of their mental health division for competency for a couple of years. And so got to partner with and work with all of the community mental health partners. I ask for your vote because you know me and you know my values, and that's really important on the district bench. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you. Angel, did you want to speak?
Yes, please. I wanted to begin by saying thank you for allowing me to speak. And I think that Judge Jenkins' speech was really great. It was very informative. I'm running for County Criminal Court number 4, which is currently sits. She is leaving behind a great legacy in that court. She's really cleaned it up. And so I look forward to stepping into that court if I am elected. I have been a criminal attorney, specifically criminal, for 12 years. I graduated from SMU in 2009, and I went off to prosecute. I began prosecuting in McLennan County for a little while because they had a hiring freeze here in Dallas at the time. I didn't want to sit around and do doc review, so I went to where they were hiring. So I went out there for a little while, and I came back to Dallas and I prosecuted. So I prosecuted a total of 4 years, and then the last 8 years, I opened up my own practice, and I've been doing almost exclusively criminal defense work. So I have 12 years of criminal experience. In addition to both being a prosecutor and a defense attorney, for the last 6 years, I've also been sitting as an associate municipal judge out in the city of Hutchins. So that's kind of a part-time deal. So I do have some judicial experience as well.
It's hard, if not harder than any of the probate courts. They have the largest number of cases by far from all of the areas of courts that we've got.
Who is speaking?
When she first came onto the bench,
Who
she
is
came to my
speaking?
court and sat to watch me do jury trials so that she could figure out a better way to do what she was getting ready to do.
Judge Mulder, I think you're
Lawyers who I talked
Excuse
to.
me, who is speaking?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me.
Sorry.
I was like, what did I do wrong?
Who is that doing that out there?
It's one of the
I
judges.
think Judge Mulder had a
Yeah.
Stonewall thing. Yeah.
I
I was
hesitated.
trying to
to-
figure out what I did wrong in Hutchins. I thought it was related to me. That was not.
It sounded like he was supporting you, but.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I am so sorry. I am cheating on Metrocrest and participating with Stonewall. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I'm two-timing. I am two-timing Metrocrest. My apologies.
We're pretty easygoing. We're pretty easygoing.
I appreciate you. I'm so
Thank you.
sorry, Angel. It
Just
didn't
briefly,
even
okay,
occur to
so,
me that I was still on talking. So I'm so sorry.
No problem. So I have been a judge out in Hutchins, and so I do have some judicial experience there. I will tell you that I have a passion for criminal law and exclusively criminal law. I work extremely hard. During this time of COVID, I think with the exception of maybe last March, I have been at the courthouse every single week for the last year and a half. I had a scheduled jury trial last week. We had a jury come up because my client needed their day in court and had been already 2 years. I have 97 criminal jury trials under my belt. So I'm running a campaign on my experience, my compassion, and on fairness. And I think that I would be I'm the best candidate for this position. And I look forward to, if I'm elected, keeping up with Judge Mulder's legacy. She's doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Who else do we have? Let's see. Amy Thompson Hollins is running against Felicia Pitry for district clerk, who is the person who does a lot of the recording for the courts. I mean,
Absolutely. I am your candidate for change. I am Amy Thompson Hollins. I have been enjoying fellowshipping and getting to know the Metrocrest Democrats. This is my first time actually getting on here in Zoom, and y'all have hosted a great Zoom meeting, and I enjoyed the speaker. Moving forward, I am currently endorsed by Transport Workers Union Local
Hmm.
Do we freeze?
Here we are.
Are we okay?
Mary Claire, I think we lost her.
You lost her? Okay.
I think we lost her. She,
I'm sorry, Amy, we seem to have lost you, but let's see, I see Judge Juan Renteria. Would you like to speak, Judge Juan Renteria?
Sure. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I'm the current judge for County Court at Law Number 5. I was appointed by the Dallas County Commissioners Courts to replace Judge Greenberg in September. He had retired earlier this year. Since I've been appointed, I've actually been recognized as the most efficient court, essentially since the first month I was there up until today. In addition, I have a track record of community service. For those of you that might be familiar, I was actually on the school board for Carrollton Farmers Branch prior to getting appointed. And that honestly is the only reason I'm no longer on the school board. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And unfortunately, as an elected official or as an official that who holds a public office, I cannot hold two offices at once. So that unfortunately had to kind of, had to withdraw from that. But you can find more information about me at voteforjuan.com. I'm trying to get information out there to all the voters, trying to keep the voters as informed as possible. I'm trying to do my part in helping turn Texas blue. And irrespective of the outcome, I've promised everyone out there that, I'm going to help as much as I can one way or another.
Okay, thank you very much, Judge
Thank
Renteria.
you. Thank you.
I see Monique Bracy Huff, who is running against my least favorite judge, Etta Mullen. She has two opponents, Monique and then Alyssa Webb. And I don't think Alyssa is here, but Monique, if you'd like to say something, you're welcome to.
Good evening, Metrocrest. Happy New Year. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I believe I've spoken to many of you both in person and over Zoom, but let's share my qualifications because I do think I'm the best choice for a judge of Dallas County Criminal Court number 10. Court 10 is a family violence court. So I do have a background in social work where I worked in domestic violence shelters, specifically helping individuals get protective orders and get emergency housing in crisis situations. During law school at SMU Dedman School of Law, I interned in the Dallas County District Attorney's Office, specifically in their family violence unit. Again, speaking with victims and assisting with trial preparation in order to do prosecution of assault family violence offenses in the same courts that I'm now running for. For the past 13 years, I've had my own law firm where I've been doing criminal defense work, defending individuals accused of family violence crimes, as well as other cases, DWIs and such. So I'd like to say that I have a very holistic view of domestic violence and how it affects both victims, their families, the accused, as well as how it affects families and communities. I have plans for this court and how we can help kind of take a chunk out of domestic violence, because I think my overall view is to try to reduce domestic violence in our communities and make our communities better. 3 million children witness domestic violence in their home each year. And whatever we can do to strengthen individuals, whether it's getting them anger management classes, whether it's getting them batterers intervention classes so they can start to understand themselves and what causes some of their anger and feelings of overwhelm. Whatever small steps we can take so that when individuals go home to their families, we have better outcomes and we have better communities. So I ask for your vote for our Dallas County Criminal Court number 10, vote Huff. I'll make it nice and simple. Vote Huff, Monique Bracy Huff, for your judge of Dallas County Criminal Court number 10.
Thank you, Monique. We also have Maria Acevas. I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing it correctly.
That's okay. No, you were Aceves, Maria
Aceves.
Aceves. Thank you so much. Very
Thank you.
clear. And thank you for hosting. And this was a great event. I really enjoyed listening to Judge Jenkins.
Is this an open seat, Maria? Is this an open seat?
Yes,
That's
it
what I
is.
thought.
So the 192nd, it's a civil bench. It's an open bench. Judge Craig Smith was there. He went up on the Court of Appeals in 2020. And so after consulting with several of the judges, they motivated me to run for this open bench. They've seen my work product. I've been in and out of their courts. And so I've gotten very close to several of our civil judges, and they were the ones that motivated me to run for this open bench. Again, it's the 192nd Civil District Court. I'm a civil litigator. I've only done civil my entire career. Went to SMU Law School, started off on the defense side, and that's really where I got my litigation chops. I was in and out of the courtroom from a very young age, and so got quite a bit of litigation experience. And then I switched over to the plaintiff side, doing plaintiff's personal injury work at a boutique catastrophic injury firm. My boss was the president of the Dallas Bar Association at the time. I then opened my own firm about starting on 5 years now, representing injured individuals and their families. I also do quite a bit of guardian ad litem work, which is I'm appointed by the civil judges to represent minor children in civil cases when they are injured. And so I will set up structured annuities for them. I'll also set up special needs trust. And so I work with a lot of these families. I think the fact that I'm Spanish speaking helps significantly. I'm able to really help Spanish speaking families and litigants navigate the legal process. And so due to my hard work and dedication, I've been named a D Magazine's Best Lawyers Under 40 for 2022. I've been named a Super Lawyers Rising Star for the past 4 years. I've been named a Top 40 Under 40 for the National Trial Lawyers. And so I've won numerous awards, and all of those awards I've been nominated by my attorney peers for. And so they've recognized my hard work and dedication.
Thank you.
In terms of, yes,
thank you so much. Because I have to move to.
Sure, yes, of course.
Thank you very much. Good luck. I don't think Maria's opponent is here, but I do know that we have, I think I've caught all the judicial candidates, but I have Tom Irvin. Did I miss anyone who's running for a judicial position? I don't think so. Okay, we have Tom Irvin here, who is running for to unseat J.J. Koch, who is the remaining Republican commissioner whom Judge Jenkins mentioned. Tom, if you'd like to take a few minutes. But I can't hear you, Tom. You have to unmute yourself. Tom?
There we go. Yes. Thank you. I am Tom Irvin, and I'm running for Dallas County Commissioner District 2. I want to thank you for holding this event. I want to talk about community involvement, professional experience, and what I call push to progress. I think most of you know that I have, for the last 5 years, supported Democratic candidates and Democratic issues. And I've had thousands of conversations that let me know I've not only heard, but I've felt how the Democratic issues affect everyday lives in Dallas County. You know, what I want to talk about with my professional experience is, for example, I have been appointed by a federal bankruptcy court to be an independent manager of a company that was in bankruptcy proceedings. That meant that I oversaw both their operations and their management of the company. But the push to progress, you know, I really liked hearing Judge Jenkins talk about some of the things that we potentially can do in this county, because I don't think that we can afford to wait for Austin or Washington, D.C. to bring improved health care to our county. We cannot wait for affordable housing for our frontline workers. And we really need to find a way to find public child care in Dallas County. I think we can really do this if we come together as a community, and my business experience will make that happen. So thank you for your time, and please vote for me as Dallas County Commissioner, District 2.
Okay. I'm going to go back to Amy Thompson Hollins, who's running against Felicia Petrie for District Clerk, because she we lost her before. She's got stopped in the nose. So you take a couple of minutes, Amy?
I appreciate it. It won't take me long. I just wanted to repeat my name. Make sure you understand that I'm running for Dallas County District Clerk. I'm #1 on the ballot. I'm continuing to discover the things that make it necessary for me to be the choice for change in this office, including some budget issues and some staffing issues. And I appreciate Metrocrest continuing to open the doors to me to be able to share my platform. And I look forward to your support. #elect Amy on any social media platform, and Amy for District Clerk on any other on social media and the websites.
Thank you, Amy. And then
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then we have Andrew Summerman, who's also running to unseat JJ Koch on the County Commissioners Court.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Andrew Summerman. It's always fun to hear from my client, Clay Jenkins, who was excellent in his presentation. You know, I really want to be on the Commissioners Court. I want to continue the work that Clay has begun. I want to make sure that we all are safe in our COVID, and I intend to fight for that. In addition to being Clay Jenkins's lawyers, I'm also a voting rights lawyer. You know, the Republicans have a 3-part plan in order to get rid of voting almost. And it goes like this. First, they want to decide who gets to vote. In other words, they're going to do voter suppression. And I fought that with voter ID. Second, they intend to decide who you're going to vote for. They do that through redistricting. And if you don't know, I'm involved in 2 different courts for redistricting. I represent the Mexican American Legislative Caucus and fighting for the redistricting that the Democrats need and the Republican, and fighting against what the Republicans want. Finally, I believe there's going to be an invasion of the ballot box itself. You've seen this in the form of quote unquote, the investigations, and protecting the ballot box itself is going to become the fight. And the fire line to that fight is at the Commissioner's Court. The Commissioner's Court is in charge of our elections, and we have to have someone who understands election laws to be able to fight that fight. I'm the person for that job, and I would appreciate if you would vote for me. Thank you. I'm Andrew Summerman, running for County Commissioner #2.
And Henry Curry, right? Is it Henry? You're running for constable?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you have something quick for us?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Henry Curry, and I am your candidate for Dallas County Council Precinct 3. Precinct 3 consists of Richardson, Addison, North Dallas, Highland Park area, University Park, and White Rock Lake area. That's the last Republican stronghold in Dallas County. Now, with your help and your support, I would like to get elected and change that area around. I have served the citizens of Dallas County for over 25 years, most recently in the capacity of Assistant Chief. As Assistant Chief, I oversaw daily operations, staff management, and training. I am the only candidate with experience in every facet of the constable's office. Please go to my website, www.curryforconstable.com. Check out my credentials, look over my platform. I would appreciate your support and your vote. And also, I'm proudly endorsed by the Democracy Toolbox and Mr. Jeff Dalston.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then we have one candidate who's running for House District 114, which is just a little bit of us, I think, Alexandra Guillo. Did I pronounce that, or did I completely butcher it?
No, you actually got it right. Yeah. And yes, I know. So I have downtown, Deep Ellum, and East Dallas. So I know that I'm a little outside of y'all's area, but I was really excited about y'all's program and having Judge Jenkins on here. So I wanted to hop on and listen to the program. So thank you guys for hosting. I didn't raise my hand because I didn't want to take up too much of y'all's time. I know it's late.
I wasn't sure where your district was because I can't keep it on my phone and know where you are.
Yeah, so this is a newly drawn district. John Turner is the incumbent. He's not running again. So the slate of candidates include myself and 4 other men. So it is a crowded primary. I'm a former prosecutor. I was there for 8 years. I've done just about every felony you can think of, including the backlog of the rape kits. I was also a legislative liaison for the district attorney in 2019. So I have actual experience going down to Austin, writing and passing legislation. First attorney in my family. I'm from Bogota, Colombia. I came here when I was 4. My family brought me here for a chance at the American dream. Unfortunately, my visa did expire, so I grew up undocumented for the majority of my young adult life. My family really emphasized education, hard work, and service to my community. So I grew up on those values. And with the help of my stepmom, I became a citizen in 2013. And that was the same year that I graduated from SMU Law School. Been an activist for the last 11 years. And I thought that the best way that I could advocate for our community was to put my name on the ballot. So I'm really excited to do this. I've had wonderful support, and just thank you guys so much for the time.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Thank you, all of you, for coming. Does anyone else have anything else, something they want to say? Anybody? Well, thank you for coming. We'll let you know at the meeting next month, whether it'll be online or in person, depending on what Omicron does. And if you haven't joined and you want to join, we sure appreciate it. You can join online at metrocrestdemocrats.org, or you can print off a membership form and mail it in. Either way, we appreciate what you do. We appreciate you attending, and thanks so much for being with us tonight. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We have contacts on our website, and we have online, we have our treasurer tonight, Steve Zadico, again, who was the one who recommended this program. We have Jimmy Mannheim, who's a new member, who has been working with our website and our mailing list, because our vice president, Jaleh Bosley, her husband has been very sick since June, has been in the hospital. So she's been out of pocket for us, and Jimmy has stepped in. And also a special thank you to Stephen Breeden, a good friend of ours, who is actually in San Antonio tonight, who lives near Austin. He used to live up here, who handles our Zoom, and did this so well tonight. Last month we were hacked, and somebody was messing with us, and we were disconnected and had to reconnect. And unfortunately, we couldn't get a good recording. But thank you all so very much for attending, and hopefully we'll see you again. Take care, all right, and be safe.